Hello, everyone. I wish that these were better circumstances I could address you in, but they are not. The entire world is racked by COVID-19, also known as the coronavirus. I've been at a bit of a loss as to what I think I could share on this, being the nature of my channel, spiritual and magic. But I think that I have a few things that I can say about this without giving you bad information that'll just hurt you. So, first thing, listen to the CDC. This is probably one of the most obvious things. But there have been cases of people being really stupid, like wanting to gargle bleach or other foolishness that I won't even mention. But in times like these, you should listen to the people who know about disease and viruses and how they spread. So always look up information by the CDC first and foremost. Do not just listen to somebody either like me or somebody just on the street. There's a couple things that I can recommend that won't hurt you. It won't cure the virus, but it could help you breathe a little bit better. A couple tactics. First though, wash your hands. This is something the CDC has said. Wash your hands very frequently. Sanitize the surfaces that are touched very often. And apparently it also clings to clothes and hair. So keep your hair very clean and keep on washing your clothes more so than you did before. That's not going to hurt you. Could help a little bit. If you have symptoms, make sure to call your doctor. Do not just look up YouTube videos, maybe like this one. Contact your doctor. Look at what the CDC has to say online. Those are the first steps you need to take. Now, because the coronavirus makes it hard to breathe, there's a couple things that I can recommend based on some information that I got today. So drink hot liquids. The coronavirus, it builds up a lot of mucus in your throat and your respiratory system, so it's very hard to breathe. One thing you can do is drink hot tea, for instance, very often. If you start to develop symptoms and you've already called your doctor, you've already listened to CDC, to help you breathe, something like tea, drinking it very often, will be able to clear a little bit of that mucus out of your throat. Also, apparently gargling vinegar. Now, that might be an odd one, but it can't really hurt you. But do that at least once a day. Once again, not a cure, but it'll help you breathe. So, after listening to the CDC and taking these precautions and making sure your hands are washed very regularly, because that seems to be a thing that not enough people do, drives me nuts. You need to remember that you are a spiritual being in these times. So no matter if you follow a religion or a spiritual path, tradition, if you're not spiritual or religious at all, then this part isn't going to be for you. Remember that you're a spiritual being, and don't, after taking all the precautions, listening to the CDC, please call out to your gods and your spirits. Once again, this is not going to hurt you, but don't just do faith healing, which is ridiculous. Faith healing a lot of time ends up getting people killed, so don't do that. Make sure that you're listening to the very terrestrial advice, very material advice of doctors and CDC employees and the foundation itself. But a lot of the time when we encounter something that's terrifying and it has to do with health, virus, a disease, we kind of forget we're on a spiritual path. We kind of forget that we have gods that we can reach out to and spirits. However you do it, do that, especially now more than ever. Their aid can help quite a bit. Once again, after you listen to the CDC. But something simple you can do during prayer to at least get noticed a little bit by a spirit or God. 7-day candles. These things can be bought at grocery stores. They're cheap, $1 to $3 at most. I think they're about $2 right now. Buy these. The candle rituals are something small, but something that gets a being to notice you a little bit more. So after you have your candle, I have olive oil, but I usually use spiritual oils. This is a Crown of Success oil. What I do is I take a little bit on my finger and then I rub the top of this candle and then I'll light it and then say a mantra or a prayer. A little bit extra help in your ritual. Very simple, very easy to do. A lot of recitation of a prayer or mantra, assuming that the CDC the CDC says don't talk very much, then just listen to that. But if you can say prayers and mantras, do that candle and close your eyes and pray. You might be a Christian and say something like, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen." You might want to repeat that multiple times. There are Hindu mantras like Om Kring Kali Kiye Namaha, Om. That kind of over time transforms you into somebody who is vibrating with Kali Ma, that is connected to Kali Ma. That mantra is very specific to her and very wonderful, and it works over time. Great mantra. And of course, you can both make offerings around the candle. Do not pour this on the candle. It is flammable. Around the candle, and put a little bit on yourself, Florida water. It's inexpensive. Probably around $7-8 right now for a bottle. It's a very old cologne that many spiritual practitioners use as a little offering. You might have a crucifix, for instance, and you want to splash some of this on it. You might have a picture of a saint. You might have a statue of a god. You might have a veve, a symbol that represents the spirit in a ritual, for ritual purposes. I have a veve that I use quite often with Papa Legba. Great little offering. These things are inexpensive, easy to do, help you get noticed a little bit more by your spirit or God. Or if you're just Christian or believe in monotheism, then you might not have statues, and you might not even know about Florida water, and you might not know about spiritual oil, but all you need is olive oil. You don't need to use spiritual oil. So the next thing I'd like to say is that now, during these times, we can be very focused on our own health. And kind of in our own, how much supplies we have, how much toilet paper we have, how many paper towels we have, how much canned food we have. It's good to have a little stockpile, but don't go crazy. There's plenty of people out there who cannot buy canned food or meat or produce right now because it's being bought up at ridiculous rates. The supply chain is not compensating very well. That doesn't mean that you have to, push somebody out of line or grab an item from them in the grocery store, or just pull all the cans you can out of a spot on the shelf. Make sure you leave some for other people. Only get what you need for at least a few weeks to a month, maybe 2 months. 3 is pushing it, but try to leave stuff for other people. Now that kind of helps us go into the 3 C's. So the 3 C's are compassion, courage, and constancy. Compassion, kind of what I just said. If you know that somebody's alone at home and they're really lonely because they have to quarantine, give them a call, give them words of encouragement, tell them about the CDC and to look up what the CDC says to do. A lot of the time when this happens and there's a quarantine and lonely people become even more lonely, the thoughts of suicide increase, especially with the fear that comes with something like this. Depression and suicide the rates, I think, will go up. Don't quote me on that, but I think that they will go up. At the very least, people will just be alone, especially lonely at this time, and we don't know how long it's going to last. Doesn't mean you have to freak out and hoard resources or, riots or steal. Try to operate within the bounds of both common sense, carefulness, and compassion. So all of that kind of feeds into compassion, caring about your fellow human being, not hoarding too much, maybe just a little bit, and maybe going out of your way to leave donations of medical masks, assuming you don't have symptoms, in any way that's safe. If you might have mild symptoms, maybe you don't want to pass it out. But for your family, you're in contact with them anyway. Make sure to have enough for your whole family. If you're considered an essential employee, somebody who has to go in because the services that you provide are still needed, grocery store workers, healthcare providers, bank tellers, doctors, and the like, remember that the people that you're in contact with, because you have to go to work, really do have a bigger risk of you transmitting it to them. So just be very clean, if not just for yourself, but for people around you. And we'll see things get worse before they get better, but this is not how humanity ends. Now, there's a 2% mortality rate of the people who get it. That might not seem like a lot, but a lot of people are going to be hurting. A lot of people are going to be in pain. And our system, our medical system, and our supply chains are just not ready for that. So just stay conscious of other people. Make sure your family has masks and you have a mask. I don't know if you should pass them out to other people. I wouldn't recommend that without really studying if that's a good idea, because people can have mild symptoms and not think that they have it. But make sure you and your family have, not just you as a person, but you and your family, the people that you see every day that you care for, have those masks. That seems very simple. We all love our families, but sometimes it's a time when we are getting selfish, and there's going to be some people out there who start to care more about their personal survival than their families. Please don't do that. That's fairly obvious, but so courage. Don't freak out. Prepare. Do the things that the CDC says, but fear at a time like this will only make things worse. Try to remain calm and do what you need to do. Sometimes courage is just maybe going to your job if you're an essential employee. Sometimes courage in these times is, leaving more product for other people who might need it and not hoarding it yourself. Sometimes courage is realizing the gravity of the situation, but still allowing yourself to not be turned into a completely different person. That feeds into compassion as well. Constancy, also related. Make sure you keep on doing the things the CDC says. Make sure that you don't, just because you don't get symptoms or this goes on for a long time, make sure you don't stop doing what the CDC says. Just keep on doing it. Compassion, courage, and constancy, they all feed into each other. These are 3 words that we need to keep in mind. So if you do have symptoms, please quarantine yourself. Even if you need the money really badly, please do your best to quarantine yourself. That also goes into meditation. A great way to keep calm and keep your mind straight in times like these is to meditate. To sit down on a cushion, cross your legs, close your eyes. I'm sure a lot of you know what meditation is, but put your hands on your knees and breathe slowly and deeply, and try to push out every thought in your head. Imagine this bubble at the center of your brain, and you're pushing out every thought that comes in. And just when a thought comes in, don't get mad at yourself. Just keep on pushing it out, expanding that bubble, pushing it out to where your mind is empty. Try to do that for 5 to 10 minutes, a few times a day, and you'll find yourself making better decisions and not consumed by fear, which is the last thing you want to do at the times like this. A lot of people say fear is useful. It's useful for keeping yourself alive, but if everybody's afraid and focused on themselves, society is going to break down very quickly. So just stay calm. Try to meditate more if you can. So the last thing I'd like to say, second to last thing, there's this mantra that I would like to repeat, and you can repeat it with me if you can tell exactly how to say it by my pronunciation. It is the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om. And that basically means I bow to the peace of God in you. And I'd like for us to together repeat this mantra a few times and think about how we are a part of a grander humanity, and it's not just about us. And that really we're always all connected, even if we're isolating ourselves, even if we're self-quarantining ourselves. It is absolutely important to remember that we are a part of a grander whole. If you get symptoms as well, before I forget, you might want to quarantine yourself away from your family. So if you're supplying things to your family, you might want them to go and get it and quarantine yourself, and not put your family at risk of getting the disease, the virus. But beyond that, I'm not comfortable with giving too much more advice because the CDC is the place to get it. I am a spiritualist and a magician. This is not my area of expertise. At any rate, let us say this mantra together. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om. 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 Take care of yourselves, brothers and sisters. This will be hard, but it's not our end. Be prepared, but don't be afraid. Thank you very much, and hope to see all of you well in the future.